Are you making the one move that will kill you faster than the blackout itself? Not the storm, not the cyber attack, not the ice storm snapping transformers, but your own instincts. The second the lights cut out, the hum of the fridge stops, the street outside turns black, and your Wi-Fi dies, your brain does what it's trained to do. It whispers, "Relax, the power will be back in a few hours." That tiny moment of comfort is the dumbest, deadliest mistake most people make, because every historical blackout proves the same thing. Disaster doesn't begin with the outage, it begins with the decisions you make in the first hour. Ask yourself this: what happens if the lights don't come back tonight? Not tomorrow, not next week. What if you're staring down days or months in the dark with no stores, no pumps, no emergency calls, and no backup coming? Could you keep food from rotting when your fridge warms past 40 degrees in just 4 hours? Could you stretch your water supply when FEMA says you need at least a gallon per person per day, and the average family has less than half of that? Could you survive when your phone dies after 12 hours and you have no backup to get news, directions, or help? Still confident? Tell that to the families in Puerto Rico who lived almost a year without power after Maria, or the Texans who froze to death in their own homes in 2021, waiting for heat that never came back on. The truth is cruel. Most people don't starve, freeze, or get attacked right away. They die because they make the wrong move in the first hours when they still thought they had time. This isn't fear-mongering, it's reality. America's grid is ancient, overworked, and one major hit away from collapse. And when it does, you won't just be fighting darkness. You'll be fighting hunger, thirst, cold, panic, and the boneheaded mistakes your neighbors will be making all around you. Tonight, I'm breaking down the dumbest moves people make when the lights go out. If you make even one of these mistakes, you're not just risking comfort, you're risking survival. Mistake number 10. Running to the store like it's business as usual. The lights go out, and what's the first instinct most people have? They grab their car keys, head outside, and think, "No problem, I'll just pick up what I need at the store." But that single decision has been the death of more unprepared people in grid-down history than any hurricane, earthquake, or cyber attack. Why? Because once the grid fails, commerce fails with it. Gas pumps don't work without power. Debit and credit card systems stop processing transactions. ATMs are dead weight. By the time you reach the store, it's already too late. Shelves are being stripped bare by everyone else who had the same idea. Studies show that during sudden outages or natural disasters, supermarket shelves can be cleared within 5 hours in major urban areas. After Hurricane Sandy, New Yorkers saw lines stretch around the block for bread and bottled water before day one was even over, and that was with partial power still running in some boroughs. In Puerto Rico after Maria, the combination of dead card systems and supply chain collapse left families waiting weeks for basic supplies. If your first move in a blackout is to head to the store, you've already lost valuable time you could have used filling bathtubs with water, rationing your pantry, or locking down security at home. The blackout battlefield isn't Walmart. It's your kitchen, your garage, and your neighborhood. Leaving your house unsecured in that first critical hour is the dumbest move you can make, because when you come back, you may find the lights are still out, but now your home is empty too. Mistake number 9, draining your phone like you're still online. Most people don't even realize their smartphone is the most valuable piece of survival gear they own until the battery dies. It's a flashlight, a communication hub, a radio, a map, a note taker, a camera, and a distress beacon all in one. And yet the dumbest move people make when the lights go out is scrolling TikTok or watching Netflix to pass the time like the outage is a casual snow day. Bad idea. A fully charged modern smartphone battery, depending on usage, can last anywhere from 12 to 36 hours. But once it's dead, you're in the dark, literally. According to FEMA, during major disasters, 911 call volumes can spike by over 300%, and text messages remain the most reliable method of getting through congested networks. But if you've wasted your charge on boredom scrolling, you're cut off from updates, cut off from emergency contacts, cut off from even knowing if your city is still standing. Worse yet, charging opportunities disappear fast. If you don't have backup power banks, solar chargers, or car adapters, you're now fighting your family members over the last 5% battery like it's gold. After the 2017 hurricanes in the Caribbean, thousands of stranded residents had working phones but dead batteries, which meant they missed critical aid drop announcements. That's the real-world price of digital ignorance. The smart move? Power discipline. Keep phones on low-power mode. Turn off Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. Use radios or printed maps when possible. Your phone isn't a toy during a blackout, it's your lifeline. Treat it like one. Mistake number 8, treating water like it's an infinite tap. The second biggest mistake people make when the grid collapses isn't about food, it's about water. People assume because they still hear liquid flowing from the faucet after the first few hours that the system will keep delivering forever. Wrong. In a prolonged blackout, water treatment plants, pumps, and filtration systems go offline unless they have backup generators. That means every sip you take from that tap might be your last clean one for days, weeks, or months. Here's the brutal math. The average human needs 1 gallon of water per day for drinking and minimal hygiene. FEMA recommends storing at least 3 days' worth per person, so a family of 4 should have 12 gallons ready to go. But surveys show that less than 15% of households in America actually meet that standard. And once the taps run dry, you're at the mercy of bottled water stockpiles that evaporate from store shelves almost instantly. Worse, untreated water sources in a blackout, like rivers, ponds, or even rain barrels, can become death traps. The CDC reports that waterborne illnesses like Giardia and Cryptosporidium spike dramatically in disaster zones, sometimes sickening tens of thousands in a matter of weeks. In Haiti, after the 2010 earthquake, cholera ripped through communities where clean water access disappeared. So when the lights go out, if your first instinct isn't to start filling every bathtub, pot, and container you own, you're making a deadly mistake. Water is the first domino in survival. Once it falls, food and medicine aren't far behind. Don't waste that window. Mistake number 7, broadcasting light and noise like you're throwing a party. Here's something few people think about. Darkness isn't just inconvenient, it's camouflage. In a blackout, most of your neighbors' homes will be pitch black, silent, and uneasy. But what do people do when they get their generator running or set up lanterns inside? They throw light and noise around like it's Saturday night in suburbia. That's the dumbest move possible, because in a world without power, light and sound travel further than you think. That hum of a generator can be heard blocks away. That glow from a window cracks like a beacon in the night. And guess who notices? Desperate people who didn't prepare. In the 1977 New York blackout, looting and home invasions spiked within hours because those with visible light became targets. In modern disaster psychology studies, researchers call this resource signaling, the unintentional broadcasting of who has supplies in a time when others don't. It's human nature to follow the light when you're in the dark, and in a blackout, that's the fastest way to put a target on your back. The smart move isn't isolation, it's discretion. Blackout curtains, noise discipline, small, directed lighting like headlamps and lanterns with covers instead of blasting LEDs through windows. Run generators at limited times and position them away from obvious detection. You want to look just as unlit and quiet as everyone else on the block, because the second you stand out, you've turned your house into a lighthouse for every scavenger within earshot. Survival isn't about showing strength, it's about avoiding notice. Mistake number 6, trusting the grid will be back before supplies run out. The single most dangerous assumption in every major blackout is that the grid will flicker back on before your supplies run out. People tell themselves this can't last long. Power companies have backup systems. They'll fix it by morning. That's not hope. That's delusion. The U.S. electrical grid is an aging Frankenstein stitched together from regional networks, some of which date back to the 1950s. According to the Department of Energy, over 70% of transmission lines and transformers are past their intended lifespan, and replacement parts aren't exactly sitting on shelves. In Puerto Rico after Hurricane Maria, the average restoration time wasn't days. It was 328 days for some areas, nearly a year. In Texas during the 2021 freeze, millions were without power for days, and more than 240 people died as a direct result, many because they thought the lights would return in a matter of hours. The problem isn't just repair crews, it's cascading failure. When one part of the grid fails, it stresses another and another until entire regions collapse. Cybersecurity experts have already warned that a coordinated attack could take down sections of the grid for weeks, not hours. The dumbest move you can make in that environment is waiting for a cavalry that might not come. Supplies aren't luxury, they're survival buffers. If you don't already have at least 2 weeks of food, water, medicine, and backup power stored, you're gambling on infrastructure that's one ice storm away from total failure. Hope doesn't keep the lights on. Preparation does. Mistake number 5, eating like it's a holiday feast instead of a siege. When the power dies, people act like it's Thanksgiving. They start pulling out steaks, ice cream, or frozen pizzas, cooking everything in sight because, hey, it'll spoil anyway, might as well enjoy it. On the surface, that sounds logical, but in reality, it's one of the dumbest survival mistakes you can make. Why? Because in a prolonged blackout, calories aren't just comfort food, they're currency. Wasting your highest protein, most nutrient-dense supplies in the first 48 hours is the survival equivalent of setting money on fire. Let's break it down. The average adult needs roughly 2,000 calories per day to maintain baseline health, but in a high-stress environment, heat, cold stress, physical labor, that number spikes closer to 2,500, 3,000. Now factor in family members, kids, or elderly relatives, and suddenly your food stash drains faster than you thought. FEMA's own surveys reveal the average U.S. household has less than 3 days' worth of food on hand, most of it perishable. And once it's gone, you're at the mercy of stripped shelves and stalled supply trucks. That fun cookout on day 1, it's a death sentence on day 10 when your only option is dry cereal and rationed crackers. The smart play is food discipline. Rotate through perishables carefully, saving high-calorie dense items like beans, rice, pasta, and peanut butter for later when the stores are still dark. Don't gorge, ration. A siege mindset beats a feast mentality because in a grid-down world, the battlefield is your stomach. Mistake number 4, ignoring sanitation until you're living in a biohazard zone. Here's a nightmare no one wants to think about, but it's the mistake that kills communities faster than hunger. Ignoring sanitation. When the grid fails, so does the water pressure that flushes your toilet. Most people keep using it anyway, flushing until the pipes back up or the tank is empty, turning their own bathrooms into cesspools. That's not just gross, it's lethal. History proves it. During the 2010 Haiti earthquake aftermath, over 800,000 people contracted cholera because sanitation collapsed and waste mixed with water sources. Even in the U.S., after Hurricane Katrina, New Orleans saw outbreaks of E. coli, staph infections, and norovirus in shelters because toilets overflowed and trash piled up in the heat. In a blackout, failing to manage waste is the fastest way to turn your home into a biohazard zone. And remember, garbage trucks don't magically keep running if fuel lines dry up. A family of 4 generates an average of 20-25 pounds of trash per week. Multiply that by thousands of homes in your city, and you've got a public health crisis festering on every curb. The smart solution? Immediate sanitation discipline. Line toilets with heavy-duty bags or buckets with absorbent material like kitty litter, sawdust, or even shredded paper. Seal and store waste away from living areas until safe disposal is possible. Keep bleach or calcium hypochlorite on hand for disinfection because bacteria doesn't take breaks when the lights do. In a prolonged blackout, your enemy isn't just hunger or cold. It's the invisible microbial army waiting for you to get careless. Mistake number 3, treating communication like it's optional instead of survival. Another catastrophic mistake people make when the grid dies is going radio silent. They figure if the lights are out, there's nothing I can do until they come back. Wrong. In a blackout, information isn't just helpful, it's survival. Without power, the official news cycle crawls. Emergency broadcasts become fragmented. Cell towers may run on backup batteries for 8 hours, but after that, coverage goes dark unless generators keep them alive. That means your entire window of updates, evacuation orders, or safety alerts could vanish in less than half a day. During the 2003 Northeast blackout, millions of people were left clueless about restoration timelines because communication networks collapsed within hours. After Maria, Puerto Ricans described entire towns being cut off from news for weeks, relying only on rumors. And in survival situations, rumors kill. The dumbest move here is failing to have redundancy. That means no AM/FM radio, no ham or GMRS radios, no backup signaling plan with family or neighbors. Studies from FEMA show that 90% of households have no way of receiving emergency communication if cell service fails. That's terrifying because without information, you can't make decisions about water safety, evacuation, or even when help is coming. The fix? Build a communication fallback system now. Hand crank or solar radios, walkie-talkies with neighbors, prearranged check-in times, a list of local AM frequencies that carry emergency bulletins. In the dark, knowledge becomes power, and those who go silent first are often the ones who don't last. Mistake number 2, burning fuel like it's infinite instead of irreplaceable. One of the dumbest, most short-sighted moves people make the second the grid goes dark is turning every bit of fuel they have into a comfort blanket. They'll run their car with the AC blasting so they can sleep comfortably. They'll fire up the propane grill just to heat a single cup of coffee. They'll keep the generator running all night because they can't stand a few hours without the hum of the fridge or the glow of the TV. It feels like survival, but what they're really doing is burning away their last bargaining chip in a crisis. Let's talk numbers. A standard 20-pound propane tank powers a grill for about 18-20 hours of cooking. A 5-gallon gas can for a portable generator? That'll buy you maybe 6-10 hours under load. And here's the kicker. In a major blackout, fuel doesn't just get scarce, it becomes unobtainable. Gas stations can't pump without power. Even if their generators work, deliveries stop when refineries and trucking grind to a halt. After Hurricane Sandy, the lines for gas stretched 6 hours long in New York, and fistfights broke out at stations that actually had supply. In Texas, during the 2021 freeze, propane ran out statewide in less than 3 days. Fuel is survival currency. Every gallon is refrigeration, heat, cooking, or mobility you might desperately need in week 2. Burning it now because you're uncomfortable is like throwing your parachute out of the plane because it's heavy. The smart move? Treat fuel like gold. Rotate your supply, ration your use, and never waste it on luxuries. Comfort passes. Scarcity doesn't. Mistake number 1, believing the grid is coming back before you have to adapt. If there's one mistake that unites every blackout casualty across every storm, earthquake, or system failure in history, it's this: assuming the grid is coming back before you're forced to truly adapt. People tell themselves, it's just a storm. The crews are already on it. Power will be back in a day or 2. That's normalcy bias, the deeply human tendency to believe tomorrow will look like yesterday. But the grid doesn't care what you believe. After Hurricane Maria, nearly half of Puerto Rico lived without power for 11 months. In the 1977 New York City blackout, the lights stayed out just 25 hours. But in that one day, looting, arson, and violence consumed entire neighborhoods. In Texas, 2021, people froze to death in their beds after betting the heaters would click back on by morning. Believing this won't last long is the most fatal lie you can tell yourself in the dark. Because that belief robs you of urgency. It makes you waste your first critical hour. It makes you eat tomorrow's food today. It makes you burn batteries, candles, and fuel like they'll magically be replaced. It blinds you to the fact that once the grid goes down, you're not in a waiting game. You're in a survival game. The power may come back in 6 hours, or 6 weeks, or never. The only safe assumption is that it's not coming back at all. If you prepare under that mindset and you're wrong, great, you've over-prepared. But if you assume it's temporary and you're wrong, you're already finished. Survival doesn't belong to the optimistic. It belongs to the adapted. Blackouts don't kill people. People kill themselves with the dumb moves they make once the power's gone. Every fridge door opened, every candle lit too close to the curtains, every wasted gallon of gas, every hour spent waiting instead of preparing. That's the difference between those who ride it out and those who don't. The grid is fragile, the system is slow, and history proves over and over that when the lights go out, it's not the storm you should fear, it's your own decisions. Don't be the person who treats a blackout like an inconvenience. Be the one who treats it like war. Because survival doesn't belong to the comfortable. It belongs to the prepared.